Hey YouTube, today we're going to be looking at a Ruger Single Six revolver. And before we get started, I'm going to show you that this Ruger revolver doesn't have anything in it, and we are clear to make this video. So I made a whole entire revolution. So what we have here is called a Ruger Single Six, and this is essentially a single action 22 caliber revolver. This is made by Ruger. Now these were introduced around 1953, and they were kind of a copy of the Colt Single Action Army, the real famous Colt Single Action Army, but they function a little bit differently than them, and we'll show you some of that. So I'm going to show you some of the close-ups of this. It says Ruger New Model Single Six, and we'll tell you what that means here in a second. And this one happens to be chambered in 22 Magnum. So this particular one has a 6.5-inch barrel on it, and it has adjustable sights on it, so you can adjust these sights back and forth to figure out where your handgun is printing and make very accurate shots. Now, what does single action mean? Single action means that you have to pull this hammer back, and every time you fire it, there is no double action on this. Now, how's it different from a Colt? Well, the old Colt single action armies had 4 clicks to them, and this one only has 2 when it happens. And one of the other things about it is the way you load this thing. You open this loading gate up, and you just rotate this cylinder around one at a time and stick one shell in at a time. Now with the Colt, you would have to pull back the hammer 1 click to get the cylinder rotate, and that's not the case with this. Now why does it say new model single six? Well, after 1973, Ruger went to what they call the transfer bar system. It has a little transfer bar on it, and that's an internal safety that keeps it from going off unless the trigger's pulled. So you can actually carry this with 6 rounds in it. So the older single action revolvers, people would only carry them with 5 rounds in them because they were a little dangerous with the hammer resting on the primer. That's not the case with the transfer bar system, so it's actually an improvement if you ask me. Now this gun was manufactured between 1977 and 1978, I believe. There's the serial number if anybody wants to look up that information, but I believe that's around the time. And this one's dirty and it's had a lot of wear on it over the years. It's just an older gun, but I like it a lot. We'll show you some of the close-ups, so some of the markings on top of it. It says Ruger's name on top of it. On the side, it just says Ruger New Model Single Six 22 caliber, and it says 22 Magnum on the cylinder. On the other side, it just has the serial number on it. So there's not a lot of markings anywhere on it. Now, the way this thing operates is you would open this gate up and you would load these one by one. They hold 6 rounds, and the way that when you were done shooting them, you would sit there and go through all 6 rounds, fire all your rounds, and then when you were ready to reload, you open this up and you rotate the cylinder around, and if you look right here, there's a little spring. It's an ejector rod. So you rotate your cylinder around and you push this ejector rod one at a time, and it ejects the shells out one at a time. It's not a very fast process, and you do that through all 6 of them, and then you load 6 new ones in, and you're ready to go. Now, this one only has 2 clicks on it to go back, and it goes off. So it's not a little bit different than a Colt. Now, we're not going to do this on camera because YouTube has these new policies, but the way that this happens, the way you take this cylinder out of this thing is you would open this lift gate open, and you push on this button, and this rod removes right here, and the cylinder just falls out the side. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube. It just has these older style like walnut grips on them. They're smooth grips, and as you know, a 22 usually doesn't have a lot of recoil, so it's pretty comfortable in your hand. I have pretty big hands, and it fills it out pretty well. But very accurate little gun. It's a lot of fun to shoot. It's very similar to, I have like one of those cheaper Heritage Rough Riders, and that one does have interchangeable cylinders on it. This one just happens to be the 22 Magnum. Neat gun, neat little vintage gun. They have a lot of history around. A lot of people's owned these things and fired these things. It's a real great gun to take out and have a little bit of fun single action shooting. Usually with single action shooting, you're going to be a lot more accurate than double action anyway. So A lot of people mostly use single action when they go to the range anyway, so this is a great little gun to have. But I figured I would show it to you. I've never showed you this little older Ruger Single Six, and see what you thought about it. If you have any questions on this gun, I'm not an expert on it, but I do know a little bit about them because I've had one for a pretty long time. But anyway, folks, thank you very much for watching my video today, and you folks have a great day.